Well, it's been about 1,500 miles since I've driven the car for, so I think it's about time to install the exhaust on it. So today what I'm going to be doing is installing the Remark catback exhaust with the muffler deletes, and we'll see what that sounds like on the STi. I know what it sounds like on the WRX because I had that same exhaust there, but I'm curious to see how much more it's going to rumble over the stock STi exhaust. Before I do that, I want to record the stock STi exhaust and compare it with the Remark exhaust after the install. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I wanted to do one more review because I know I'm going to be excited after this exhaust is put on of how the car drives as is. Currently I'm at 1,438 miles and I've been enjoying every single mile that I've put on this car. I was honestly a little worried because everybody kept saying, you know, the STi is about as fast as the WRX, etc., but I can tell you that after I crossed that 1,000-mile mark, I was able to open it up a little bit and see what it's got, and the STi is significantly faster than the WRX. In normal city driving, you would feel it a little bit. I mean, it feels like it just wants to pull a little bit harder than the WRX, but when you cross over that 4,000 RPM range, the car opens up and it really lets you see what it's got. So it's warmed up a little bit, so we're gonna enter a turn pretty fast. I mean, it really night and day difference from the WRX. You really can haul some ass in this car. I have to almost catch my breath now, how exciting that was. One thing I didn't mention in the last video, which I should have because this was a huge deal for me when I was trading in my WRX, was the sound system. I like to listen to music. I don't know if it was the Bluetooth connection because I had two different phones in the WRX and both of them had that very staticky sound coming from the speakers, but when I traded this one in, I hooked up the Bluetooth, it sounded perfect. Also, on the WRX, I custom made a phone holder, which was on the left side, right next to where you would adjust the interior lighting. There was that blank space, so I just drilled and attached a little phone holder right there and used it like that. But with the STi, it comes with the Android Auto, and I'm not sure, I think that 2019 WRXs come with Android Auto as well. But at that point I can have my phone right here. Everything that I need is actually displayed on my screen. All my music is on there. All the podcasts I listen to are easily accessible from Google Music. And of course, the number one thing that I needed to use my phone was for Waze, you know, so you can check where the police are at all times. I'm just kidding, for GPS, right? And now with Android Auto, both Waze and Google Maps can be displayed on the screen. You could actually even report incidents on Waze from the screen itself. So, you know where I'm going?
Where?
Where do you think?
Where's going, Baba?
I'm going over to Dede's. Do you know why?
Where?
I'm taking the STi to Dede's work.
Oh!
Yeah, what do you think I'm going to be doing?
Jump on the engine.
What?
Jump on the engine.
No, we're going to be installing the exhaust.
No, jump on the engine.
You want me to jump on the engine?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to be jumping on the engine. You want me to put the exhaust on?
Yeah, you did it.
No, I got to put the exhaust on. And I'm going to make it... Okay, I'll jump on the engine, okay?
Edge?
Yeah, I'll jump on the engine. But I'm going to make it louder by putting the exhaust on. Does that sound fun?
Instead of
Yeah, that's what it's gonna sound like. Are we gonna go for a drive afterwards?
it's not good.
Yeah, it's good. Okay.
How about the Evo?
Evo? Oh no. You little traitor.
What?
Yeah, you gotta like the STi, not the Evo.
Yes, it's the Evo. It's our Evo.
No, I'm not gonna drive the Evo.
Yeah.
No.
It's too old.
Yeah, it's too old. They don't have any new Evos.
How about a Mitsubishi Eclipse?
What's up with you and Mitsubishis? No.
Mitsubishi Eclipse.
We have a WRX STi. That's better than the Eclipse.
No, Mitsubishi Eclipse.
I think he's just punking me now. You messing with me? Another really interesting aspect of the car, which I didn't really notice it at first. I felt it a little bit different, but as I drove it more and more, I started realizing that there really is a significant difference. And that's the steering feel. So it doesn't have the electronic steering, which I really liked in the WRX. But going back to having a power steering pump actually feels really good. I mean, you feel the road a lot more, and I can honestly see why they decided to do what they did. After that 1,000-mile drive, I wanted to see what the car had, so I started going through the curves, and I noticed that I was going a lot slower through the curves with my STi than the WRX. So inside my head, I was automatically thinking, I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know what people are talking about. The WRX actually handles better than the STi. I talked to my friend about it, and I told him that I think the WRX handles a little bit better than the STi. So after going back and forth, we kind of came to the conclusion that it's not the handling that was the issue, it was me. And that in the back of my head, I think I had the notion that this car is worth a lot more than the WRX, so I really didn't even want to push it that hard. After I was enlightened with that information, I got back inside the car, and I went through the same curves that I did earlier, and I realized that, yeah, that was exactly what it was. The STi handles really well through those curves. Another thing that I really got to test out a couple of days ago were the 6-piston Brembo brakes. So I was driving behind this GTI, and there was a Camaro behind me. We're approaching a traffic light where if it turned yellow, all three of us could go through, not just the first guy. And sure enough, it turns yellow, and the guy in front of us just slams on his brakes. There's a microsecond delay between each one of us, and I slam on my brakes, and the Camaro slams on his brakes behind me. Now I'm able to stop at a really comfortable distance, even though, I mean, this is super close to the traffic light, and we're doing about 55 miles an hour. The Camaro behind me, however, there's absolutely no way. I was like, here we go. I'm about to get my car destroyed, so I'm already looking how I can evade the situation. I actually go a little bit into the right lane, but thankfully he goes completely into the left lane and stops where my front fender is. It just shows you how much more powerful the Brembo brakes are over standard brakes that the Camaro had. I've also been messing around with these SI drive settings right here, trying to intelligent, sport, and S-sharp modes to see if I can really notice a difference. And yeah, I really can. I got used to the sport mode. That's what I was driving in the entire time. And then when I switched to intelligent mode, the only way that I can describe it is if you ever driven a Lexus in eco mode. That's how the throttle response feels. It feels super smooth. When you shift gears, there's never a time when you can hear that clunk a little bit. It's always just a smooth shift, and I think that's just due to the throttle response. When I switch to S-sharp, you can tell a noticeable difference from sport mode, and of course, an insane difference from intelligent mode, where the only way that I can describe the throttle response is almost like those old school PlayStation joysticks, where you're playing Gran Turismo or something like that, and you press the X button, and it's either just 100% or nothing. It's not quite as bad as I'm exaggerating, but you just tap it slightly and you feel that the car is going. It's almost as if the car lost about 200-300 pounds. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. It feels quicker, even though I understand it's just the throttle response that's changing, and it feels a lot lighter. I'll have to do a little bit more research to see if the S-Sharp mode has any negative prolonged effects on your vehicle versus, for example, driving in sports mode all the time. And if there's not, then I'll be in S-Sharp mode all the time, because I feel like the STi needs to be in S-Sharp mode in order to get its full potential out. Another really cool feature that I really love that they installed on here is the shift light. I always wanted a shift light in my car, and now I got one. So when you get up to about 6,500 RPM, the little light blinks and tells you to shift. But let's do a little bit of it. It's insanely fast. My friend and I were discussing what would be the ultimate manual vehicle to drive, and we were kind of settling on the 911. However, I kind of came to the conclusion, I said, if this car could have 500 horsepower, I don't think I would ever switch to a 911. That was prior to the 1,000-mile braking period. Now, I honestly think this is just a really good amount of power. I would be really interested if somebody in the Metro Atlanta area would let me drive their STi with more than 400 horsepower just to see how that feels. I mean, I bet that would feel incredibly intense. Yeah, now I'm on my way to my dad's body shop over here, where I have access to a lift, and we can install this Remark exhaust once and for all.